First of all, thank you so much. I love this organization. I've spent the last couple months getting to know Stacy and Deborah, and it's been such a joy. And I have to say that I wish I had something like this when I was a single mom. And I was a single mom for 1,000 years. And it seems like every year is 10 years, doesn't it? And it was 8. And that's a long time. And I am just so grateful for this organization. I'm so grateful to be, I'm so honored to be here. And P.S., one of the stations where we were stationed was Lackland. So I love Texas. I graduated from high school in San Antonio. And one of my dreams is to have some, big, huge ranch someday out in the middle of nowhere in Texas with a bunch of animals. But someday. I live in Arizona. So I moved down here in 97. And so excited to talk about relationships. And that is the thing that I am the most passionate about. I shared a quote yesterday. Tony Robbins says that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your relationships. And I wholeheartedly believe, because I know so many people that have success in other areas of their lives, a great career, a beautiful home, their health is good. They have, financial success, and your relationships are strained, you will not feel joy. We all know this, right? So we're going to talk about cultivating our relationship with ourselves, building that self-worth and self-confidence, because I spent 4 decades with low self-esteem and self-loathing, and I had a really hard time with self-confidence and self-worth. And then we're going to talk about our children and how can we cultivate relationships with our children, doing the best we can with what we got, all we have today. And then we're going to talk about a partner, which, why would we talk about a partner? We're single parents. Well, I'll tell you. And then lastly, and not least, is how do we cultivate a relationship with our faith and our God, whatever it is that you believe in, the creator or the source. There's a reason why when you ride a plane, they tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? You cannot help your children. You cannot help your family. You cannot help your parents unless you have your own oxygen mask on. Then you serve others. And, I wanted to talk about some of my background. Look at that. That is my immediate family, believe it or not. So I was born LDS. Yes, they took the commandment of multiply and replenish the earth very literally. They have 11 children. I'm right in the middle. That's me in the back. So when we talk about some of our traditions, I'm going to talk about some of the traditions and the belief systems of how I grew up, because that helped me identify some of my core beliefs. Now, it's widely known that most of our core beliefs are developed in our early childhood, and most of them before age 7. So I wanted to go through some of my, the traditions and the upbringings that I was taught, because that created core beliefs. And I think when we identify our core beliefs, then we are able to kind of look at them objectively and really sort out which ones really serve us, and we want to keep those and use those in our daily life. And then we can also identify those that maybe are limiting us and maybe that are not serving us and not cultivating self-worth and self-love. And some of the traditions of the LDS faith are actually pretty amazing. I don't think anybody can deny that a weekly family home evening where there's no friends, no work, no phones. Of course, we didn't have phones back then, no electronics now. And, we would have scripture study and, talk, and we'd have an opening song. Maybe that's why I wanted to have an opening song. It's just in my blood. What are you going to do? The other thing that is traditional about our belief system, or the belief system where I was raised, is serving. Serving others and serving our community is so ingrained in our DNA. It's almost like my mom thinks if she's not serving somebody, that she's just worthless. I don't believe that I'm worthless unless you're serving, but serving others is one of the best ways to cultivate love and joy and self-worth and just fulfillment, flat out fulfillment. So, what's the point? Well, our beliefs are not created by events. They're actually created by our story that we create around the events that happen, right? We've all met people that something similar has happened to them, and one of them is totally devastated and one of them's totally fine. It's like, really? Because I was on the bathroom floor for, crying for 4 years, and you're like dating and you're totally fine after your divorce. You're like, you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. How has that even happened? Well, it's the stories that we internalize, that we talk about the event, not actually the event itself. Well, when I was a little kid and I was learning about Jesus, I was learning that, he was kind. He didn't mind to be interrupted. He fed the poor. He did this, he did that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be able to do that. I was like, I'm going to fail. I heard that you have to be perfect or you're going to hell. Nobody said that. Nobody taught me that. That's ridiculous. My parents didn't say that. My teachers didn't say that. No one said that. But that is how I heard. I learned about how wonderful Jesus was, and it was a great example of how to live and how to be and how to treat people. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear, these are great ideas. You should, check this out. Try to do some of these things. No, I did not. I heard, I have to be perfect because Jesus was perfect. And if I am not, I'm screwed, right? It's either one or the other. Well, that's kind of weird, right? My sisters didn't interpret it that way. Why did I? Well, one more story. When I was baptized, I got baptized at age 8. That's what they do. And I remember thinking, yes, okay, wash off all my sins. I'm going to be perfect from now on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I can do it. They're all gone. I'm going to be wake up perfect, get out of that water perfect. I'm so excited. And then what happened? I had a bad thought. I got angry at something. I got frustrated, and I stole some change off my dad's desk, and I bought some candy at school. I'm literally screwed for life. Like in what, 24 hours? I mean, it literally took me 24 hours to not be perfect anymore. So why though? Why would we interpret something like that? Well, I'll tell you another story. Going back to your core beliefs being developed before you're 7. When I was 4, my parents wanted to help a teenager, and he's a teenage boy. He got thrown out of his own house, and my mom just wanted to help him. They want to help everybody, right? So, wow, sorry. So they let him live with us. He was like in between my brother's ages, and I guess he was kind of a pseudo friend, I guess. And somehow he got me alone in the basement with him, and he molested me. And so weird. Sorry for being so emotional. But I never talked about it until now. I actually hardly ever told anybody my entire life for 4 decades. And I don't know why. I just feel like I got this, this guidance to talk about it, to start sharing it, start helping other people that have gone through the same thing, because everybody has gone through trauma. Everybody has gone through some sort of abuse at one point. And all of us have definitely been through toxic relationships and a divorce. And it's very traumatic. And I think that healing is literally something that we have to do every single day. And I think one of the things that helps us is to share our stories with others and to talk about it, because then you can help others feel like they're not alone. They're not the only ones that ever felt that way. And, that event created so many beliefs that I didn't even realize till years and years later. I had no idea. That's why I thought I have to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be good enough. The other beliefs are, I thought men only wanted me for sex. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to hang out with me. They don't want anything else from me. I had that core belief forever. I felt that I'm broken. I'm damaged goods because of that, because of the story, not the event, the story I created from that event, which is just a belief, right? If it's just a belief and we separate I am statements and detach from that and say, oh, well, I feel broken. I feel like I'm damaged goods. That doesn't mean I am. And then we can start to work through, is that really true? Any of those statements true, or any of those statements would you ever in a million years tell a 4-year-old little girl, you're broken, you're damaged goods, you're never going to be good enough, you're worthless? You never would. No one ever would. And one of the strategies of building self-worth and self-love and self-confidence is, so why don't you talk to yourself like you're a little 4-year-old girl? What do you wish someone would have told you when you were little and you were flailing around trying to figure it all out? And right now we're flailing around trying to figure it all out. We're going through something that no one has ever gone through before like this. And everybody's struggling. And especially, I think it's especially hardest on our children. And we'll get to that next. But what if we could speak to ourselves the way that we speak to our loved ones, the people that we love most? We would never say any of those hurtful things. Those statements are not true. They're beliefs caused by something in the past, and your past does not predict your future. You know what that event actually turned out to be? I think it's my biggest blessing. You know, when I talk about partners and I talk about dating, every single person that we've ever dated is our greatest teachers if you shift your thinking and you actually think about it that way. But also the events in your life and what is we have experienced as a traumatic event is actually our greatest strengths. I think our greatest weaknesses help others, which in turns give us strength and builds that self-confidence and that self-love. That experience kept my kids safe. I wouldn't let them go to sleepovers. Hell no. Until they had like 5 years of karate and they were like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. They were begging me their whole life. I'm like, nope, no. You know, we are not just the things that happen to us. We are not just the beliefs. Those are just beliefs. We are in a huge entire picture. And one of the activities or one of the PDF downloads that I created is to actually think about everything that we are, all of the things that make us, you know, the things that we wish we could improve upon. Great. Well, that's awesome. Doing little improvements is a great thing. We're all a work in progress all the time, right? We are not just our faults. We are not just our limiting beliefs. We are not just a mom. We are not just a dad. We are a lot of things. And when we literally spend time, you know, writing helps us slow down, take an objective look at everything that makes us us, because we tend to just focus on our flaws. Gosh, you know, I'm just this, I'm not patient, I'm not compassionate enough, I'm just not, I'm not, right? These I am statements. But we're not just one thing. So if we see the entire picture, we can see that we're total human beings. And we see that, oh, the little part, there's a few things that I'd like to improve on. Great. That's awesome. Identify the gifts that you were given that is totally and completely unique to you. Sometimes our gifts are just, we're good listeners. Sometimes our gifts are, we make people laugh. A gift doesn't have to be something that's a talent or something that's a class in school or classified as a specific thing that everybody needs to be good at. My son has dyslexia. He's 17. He reads like on a 5th grade level. So does Steve Jobs. Well, did. There's about 67% of all CEOs of Fortune 500 companies have dyslexia. They can't read worth crap. They can't spell worth crap. It doesn't matter. We don't all have to be good at reading and writing. There's no rule. How boring would that be if they're all good things? So if we identify the things that we are good at and we actually use those gifts in the service of others, that's how you change those limiting beliefs that you're not good enough, that I don't have enough patience. Speaking of things that you want to improve upon, I like small quantifiable goals. Why quantifiable? Well, because if you say, I'd really like to have more patience, well, how do you know if you've done that? How do you know that you've had more patience? Well, as soon as you say, I want more patience, what's going to happen as soon as you get in your car and you pull out of the street? There's going to be 900 people driving 25 miles an hour, right? You'll get all kinds of opportunities to practice that patience, right? Happens to me every time. So instead of I would like to just have more patience. That's kind of a, a general I can't accomplish it. How do I know when I've accomplished it? I like to think of, okay, what actions can I take that demonstrate patience? Because when you're taking action actually changes your mind. Once you've taken action where you've demonstrated patience, guess what happens to that previous limiting beliefs that says, I'm not patient. I wish I was more patient. I should be more patient. Those beliefs aren't helping us. But if I take action, that changes your mind. And it's only can be done by you. You know, it takes a lot of patience. Listening to my dad. That sounds so terrible. He's 83 degrees. Oh my gosh. I live in Arizona. Can't you tell? I wish it was 83 degrees. 83 years old. He was born in 1937. And he tells the same stories over and over. Same jokes. And he gets mad at you if you can't, jump in and recite the punchline, because that means you weren't listening the other 497 times he's told it in the last 20 years. It takes a lot of patience. But guess what? I don't know how long I'm going to have my dad. He thinks he's going to die every day. Any day now. I'm like, Dad, there's nothing wrong with you. You're totally fine. I think you're going to hang around for a little bit longer, but he thinks it's going to be any second now. So I'm like, all right. So guess what I could do if I was trying to work on patience, instead of just saying I want to have more patience, how about I have a small quantifiable goal that I can quantify? How about pick up the phone and call Dad? How about just listen? As painful as it is it really that painful? Is it really that hard to listen to an old man who gave me life tell the same stories over and over and over and listen over and over and over? Is that really that hard? It's not that hard. That's how you change those beliefs, by taking action that demonstrates and proves that I have patience. And that's real live example from my own life. It takes a lot of patience. My sister read, it was that part of my book. I wrote about it in my book, and she said, I thought about the small quantifiable goals. And she said, I decided to just clear off the kitchen table. She has 4 kids under the age of 6. She's a stay-at-home mom. You can imagine what her kitchen looks like, right? I mean, we remember. I don't know how many people have really young kids right now, but mine are 15 and 17 now. So I don't have the littles anymore, which makes me so sad. But she said, okay, great. Any small goal where when you accomplish it, you feel like, all right, I'm doing okay. When your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, you're like, even though it was a complete shit storm today, excuse my French, and, there's a hole in my wall, and we had, 97 tantrums, and we had Cheerios for dinner at 10 o'clock. Well, I did this one thing, so I'm doing okay. I called my dad. I put in my time. No, I didn't say that. And it's up to you. And serving others helps you disprove those limiting beliefs. And Rachel said, okay, so I've just the stupidest little thing, just clearing off my table, because as you remember, like the peanut butter everywhere and the crafts and the books and everything all the time. But if it's clear, then she feels like, okay, I'm more organized, I'm more calm. Something so silly like that is helping her feel more peace and joy, and helping her feel more confident and more, okay, I think I'm doing a good job, because there's one area that's in order in her little house. So there are 4 little adorable kids. All right. So I have 2. My husband has 2. So I've adopted 2. And my first husband had 2. So I have 4 stepkids as well. I have given birth to 2 children. And these pictures are on the left. They're actually my move-in day. And that moving in is usually a super fun, happy occasion, right? Look how little they were. When I separated from my husband, they were like 18 months and like almost 3. They were babies. They were so small. And I didn't have like week on, week off, every other weekend. I didn't have any schedule whatsoever. Their father was a little lost for a couple of years, but then he got a job in the mining industry, and he's gone all the time. So we never had like we're definitely going to see Dad, on this day, and like a countdown. And every time there was a countdown, he ended up, the job took too long and he had to stay. And oh my gosh, it was really difficult. Although I would say all parenting is difficult. Even when you have a husband and a wife, I would say there's no situation I think that's more difficult, but I even think that, you know, those of you who are going back and forth and you're co-parenting, that's very difficult. And so I did not have to co-parent. And, you know, there's pros and cons to everything, but this is on a couch in the, you know, on the grass. This is outside and we're moving the couch out. Of course, no one ever wore clothes. My kid, I don't know about your kids. Do they ever wear clothes? I couldn't get clothes on my kids to save my life. I don't know what their deal is. Brandon, I had to like duct tape his diaper on his body. So why was I moving? Well, it wasn't good news. In 2007, when the recession started, I was working at a big advertising agency, running an advertising agency, and I literally every day we got a cancellation. So the economy was tanking. Advertising is the first thing to go. And I was petrified. And I saved $0. So it's funny how I could tell the story. Well, you know, the economy crashed. I lost all my clients. My income went down 90%. And so I lost my home and I had to file bankruptcy. Those are all true. And also what is true is that I made a ton of money. I was trying to keep up with the Joneses. My marriage was failing. I was trying to have this persona that I was doing well and everything was fine and I was successful. And, you know, I bought a stupid expensive car and a stupid expensive house, a stupid interest rate. And I just made every bad decision around finances that could possibly be made. And I did not go bankrupt just because the economy tanked. If I had been saving money, I wouldn't have lost my house. And that's true. And I think that's another, you know, kind of good lesson too, is then for the first 10 years, the way that I told that story was the first version. Oh, is the recession, is the economy. Let's really look at the truth. The truth of the matter is that I was irresponsible. I was totally overspending, putting stuff on credit. I had crazy amounts of debt, and I am the one that caused my financial demise and my bankruptcy and my repeal. I lost my car, my house, everything. I didn't even have enough money to buy my own laptop. So this day was moving into my rental house. I lost my beautiful house and I had to, I mean, the kids, it was ruthless. They were talking about how much they love the basement house because it has a basement and the park across the street and blah. I had to listen to that for years. And, but you know, one of the things that I was struggling with is also from my upbringing, also from the traditions and the beliefs of my family, which is so easy to inherit. But when they don't serve us, we are causing ourselves stress. We're causing us some very low self-worth feelings. I was taught, and no one said this, but in our tradition, if you're a working mom, you're not a good mom, period. My sister was like, she sent me an email very concerned when I was, you know, working really hard and I had my baby. She's like, I just don't want you to have a really, you know, strained relationship with your child. I don't want him to, you know, get into trouble. And I was like, what are you talking about? Just because I have a job? Well, I have 7 sisters. And out of 7 sisters, I'm the only one who has a career and works full time. And it's funny. I think it's just fear. You know, other people's beliefs are based on their own, all the stuff that's going on with them, right? They are afraid. And I thought there's no way I can be a good mom and be working because I'm, quote, supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, speaking of parenting, not just the perceived pressures that we have from our family members, our sisters, our brothers, our exes' parents, our own parents, who all have very different opinions about what you should and shouldn't do, right? Parents think one thing, your ex's mom thinks one thing, your aunt says that you should do this, and about everything. Everybody's constantly sharing. And then we have the perceived pressures of, you know, student, got to do the school stuff and your hair can't be mangled and you have to have matching shoes and don't look homeless. And you know, like I felt myself totally run ragged and exhausted from trying to do all that crap and pretending like I wasn't ragged and exhausted. Anyone can relate to that? Or exhausting ourselves, pretending that we're not exhausted. It's ridiculous. But if you ask 100 different people what you should do with the child, what's the most important thing to do when you're raising a child, you will get 100 different answers. I mean, no doubt you'll get 100 different answers. Well, guess what? Your children were not given to your mom. Your children were not given to your aunt. Your children were not given to your ex-in-laws. Your children were not given to your sister. They were given to us. They were given to us not on accident, is on purpose, purposely given to us to raise, to love, to cherish, to teach, to lead. So we are the ones who will be guided to what they need. Only us. And also, I think building relationships, again, goes back to taking small actions, small quantifiable goals. I actually also like to look at role models. So we are guided to what our children need. And we also have role models too that we actually admire. And I think it's good to talk about those or just acknowledge those. Just think about the parents that you really admire the most. And the ones that I think of all the time are my friends, dear friends and clients. I've known them for 25 years. They were high school sweethearts and got married when they were teenagers. They are still together, still best friends. They run a business together. They have lunch together every single day. And their kids are phenomenal, smart, polite, generous, kind, funny. They are just amazing human beings. And I've watched them through the years. And what I love, you might know this school. They don't like the school system, so they just started their own school. I think they have a Great Hearts Academy in Dallas now. I don't know if you've heard of the Great Hearts Academy. They started that 20 years ago. Their kids are all grown now. Their son got a perfect score on the SAT. 1,600, exactly. Nuts, right? Yeah, I would say that they're doing something right? My kid can't read, but that's okay. So I thought about the characteristics and some of the things that I really liked, and I really like to just apply in my own parenting. There's no judgment or shame or anything. I just really like some of the things that they did. What was it? I saw them in business situations and dinner situations, in adult situations when their children were little, and they come up and they need keys. You know how kids are, drive in. I got to have money. I got to go there. I got to go there. I need this for that. And she's in the middle of the conversation and she was like, just hold on just a second. I'm almost done. And I was like, wow, I would have ripped that kid's head off. I thought that was so awesome. So calm. I wanted to be more calm. I am not an inherently calm human being. I don't know if you've noticed that, but calmness is good. I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I made, again, small quantifiable goals, because you can't accomplish, I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better dad. Well, how do you know when you've accomplished that? How do you know that? If they just don't get in trouble at school, like everybody else's rules, don't act out, don't get a 0, don't get a D on any tests. Well, if that's really important, that's great, but if what's really, really important to you is unique to you and your children. And when I was raising mine when they were little, the most important thing was the time we spent reading. I think that reading is the most important thing. I knew he struggled with reading anyway, and I read to him. So I think it's just as many benefits when you're listening to words, to a book, as reading it yourself. And so I cherished that time. And I'd lay in my bed and I'd have my daughter on one side, my son on one side, both in my arms, and I got the book. But sometimes I would just get so tired. I'm just not a night owl. I get up early so I can do everything before they wake up and then help them and then get back to work. And, I work from home since 2009. After I went through bankruptcy and divorce and moved into that house, I joined a business partner where she also had a marketing agency that she had started before alone, but I joined her, and her business setup was to work from home. We all worked remotely. And it was such a huge blessing. You think about losing your job, losing all of your money, losing your house, losing your car. But what did that give me? It gave me the opportunity to be home when my kids were little, like 3 and 5-ish. And I could do what they needed to do and take them to all their doctor's appointments and go pick them up when they're sick. You know, kids never actually go to school. They just always need to be picked up for something. But I could do that. It was the biggest blessing on my life because of that. If the recession and the bankruptcy and all that crap hadn't happened, I never would have joined her, because she was trying to recruit me for like the last 5 years. I was like, oh no, I'm too loyal to my company. I love my company. They're so good to me. And I'm doing great over there. I would never have quit, and I would have been miserable, and I would have missed so much of my kid's life. And then once everything started to happen, I was able to work from home. And I've been working from home since 2009. And so I would do a lot of stuff in the early morning and then take care of them, get them off school, and then get back to work at home, you know, and then go get them at 3. So I'm always kind of working in and out around their schedule. And if I didn't, you know, by 9 o'clock, I was just tired. You know, some nights I would just, you know, be like, what are we going to read? You know, brush teeth. And it's like 9 o'clock, and I get out the book. I can literally barely make it through 2 pages. And then I can't do it anymore. I'm just so tired, and just really, I literally missed out on the most important thing. So the most important thing to me is to read. So my small quantifiable goal was to read just 30 minutes. I'm going to read 30 minutes a day. So what do I need to do? I need to start before 8, so mommy doesn't fall asleep. So just push up bedtime. So I just made them start the beds and the baths and everything. That was, to me, I knew that's what they needed the most, is my undivided attention. I knew they needed me to read books to them. And I knew that if I just did that, no matter what happened that day, no matter how many crises, I knew that I was doing okay. I was okay. They were okay. I did read to them. Another small quantifiable goal could be game night, you know, once a week. I made that goal, just sit on the floor. My other sister says, you just got to sit on the floor with the littles, you know? And I was like, I always thought of that. I thought that was so funny a thing to say, but it's so true. Get on the floor, get the games out, get the cards out. And what we found, that we loved this one game, this stupid card game called 5 Crowns. We were so obsessed with it. They literally wanted to, like, hurry, let's eat and let's play 5 Crowns. Like, they wanted to play cards so much that game night once a week turned into every single night. And what an amazing tradition. What an amazing way to spend the evening when we could. And so these little quantifiable goals, when you take action, you change your mind. I know that I did this, even though I may have raised my voice. I didn't make a healthy meal. We had Chick-fil-A. I didn't make it to the parent-teacher conference. I don't even think they were, you know, on time for school. All of that, it's also still true. However, what's most important to me is my undivided alone time with my kids, with them. All that stuff, that's not as important to me. And so you decide what's important to you and your kids. You're the ones who know them the most. And so you are going to be guided to what they need. And when you make small quantifiable goals to give them those little things, little teeny actions that you can take, you change your mind, you change your relationship, you change the whole dynamic. And I love that I think a lot of times we want to make big changes. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better mom. I got to do better. I need to stop doing this. I need to, change my tone, how am I going to say the right thing? And what do I do? And, now Leah's 14, we're dealing with a whole nother animal, a different alien every single day, every 5 minutes. She's going through puberty. I mean, it's a tough time, and being locked down is not easy. And so it's also getting into that stillness and that quietness and really being open to that guidance that I think that we are giving if we're quiet enough and we listen enough. So the activities are just like I was talking about, and just things that way we can maybe sit, slow down, write it out. What is it that you think your child needs the most? And what actions do, quote, good parents take? Right? If someone's like, oh my gosh, you always have that thing. Like when I was single and I was going to the school and I was helping my kids. I mean, I was like looking at all those stay-at-home moms with their rich husbands. And I was like, you guys make me want to throw up. Well, that's not helping me. They don't care. They're just living their life and they're helping their kids. Like all that hate and envy, that's hurting. That's only hurting myself. That's not helping anybody. And I just thought I was so envious of that because they can do all of that stuff. They can, have 8 hours a day to do whatever they want. And I thought that it's just funny that I used to think that now, but what do the quote good parents do? Not how they're perceived, not volunteering 97 hours a day, the real, what you feel in your own core values. What are those values and what actions do you take? I really truly believe one little tiny action, then another tiny action, and then another tiny action. It compounds, it builds on itself, and it changes your internal beliefs to know that I know I'm doing okay. You have those moments with your children, small moments. Kids don't want to spend 7 hours with you. 30 minutes, you can go a long way. The next segment I want to talk about is how do you build a relationship with your future partner? And you might think that this is well, that's kind of a weird subject. Why would you talk about your partner when you're all single? Well, I'll tell you. I was thinking about partners and I was thinking about what would we say? I was thinking about, God didn't make Adam and Eve on their own separate islands. They didn't say, here you go, buddy. Good luck. Best of luck to you. I'm going to go over to this other planet and I'm going to go visit Eve. No. So we can't possibly think that the grand plan for us was to be alone for the rest of our lives. We're supposed to be solo warriors going to battle every single day. No, I don't think that that's the grand plan. I think that we deserve a partner. We need a partner. I think that God has a partner in mind for us. You can see this. I did not come together with John until I had believed it. And I thanked God every day for sending him to me. And I said it just like that. Thank you, God, for sending me my soulmate. And because after my divorce, I don't know about any of y'all, but I did not believe in marriage. I did not have a great time. I did not believe that I was ever going to get married again. I am done with men. I had all of these limiting negative beliefs about men, about relationships, about marriage. I said, and myself. I look in the mirror and literally say, well, I'd look at myself and I'd be like, well, if I got a boob job and liposuction, maybe somebody would want to marry me. And I literally thought that. There's no way anybody's going to want to marry me with the way that I look right now. And if you want to get a boob job, great, go for it. I'm just saying, when your internal dialogue is telling you that you have to be different to be loved, to be married, to have a partner that loves you and cherishes you and worships the ground you walk on, then those are the things that you want to identify. So you can think, you know what, let's work on those beliefs. It's all about transforming your beliefs. Right after my divorce, I immediately started dating right away. I was like, I want to go out. I never really dated that much before I got married the first time. I was really young. I met him when I was 22. And I just felt like a failure. I felt like I had failed in every aspect that anybody in this life could fail at. My career, my finances, my family, my marriage. I don't know, what else could you fail at? I think I pretty much failed at everything. I got them all covered. But that made me feel like crap about myself. I really felt like back to the very beginning. Here I am broken. All men are liars. All men are this. So many things that I used to say and believe. But that's why it's so important to strengthen your relationship with yourself, so you can cultivate those feelings that you are worthy, that you do deserve the love that lasts a lifetime. You just do deserve a man or a woman or a partner that loves you and cherishes you, no matter what your current conditions, no matter what has happened in the past. What if your life is like a book and it is, 400 chapters long? I don't know how many chapters we're going to have, right? And how long are they? Who knows? What if the divorce chapter or the separation chapter or the court battle chapter was chapter 12? Maybe it was 12 through 200, right? Seemed like it lasted 97 years. But if you're on chapter 40, or maybe you're chapter 120, depending on what you've been through, what could chapter 121 be about? What if chapter 121 is the soulmate chapter? What if you actually meet him or her? Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what God has planned for you. You don't know what your future partner is doing right now. Maybe he's down the street at the Starbucks, wishing that you would walk in the door. Maybe he's moving to your town, maybe moving to your relationship, your community. Just about to join your church. Maybe he or she is in the middle of a nasty divorce. Maybe God is getting him or her ready through the experiences that he or she is having right now so that they are ready to meet you. Well, you couldn't possibly know. Maybe this season, which all seasons change, maybe this season is God getting you ready. Maybe all of these challenges and all of these trials that we have right now are making us stronger. Maybe this is our opportunity to learn the things that we needed to learn only because of these things that are happening right now. How would we learn? How would we even have all this time with our families during lockdown? I'm not sure if Texas is all in lockdown right now. Things have opened back up in Arizona. But all of the nights they couldn't go see any of their friends. They were devastated. They were crying. Well, only Leo was. Brandon could care less. He plays video games all day. And he was like, I'm like, hey, checking in. Brandon, you doing okay? And he's like, yeah, why? 3 months of lockdown was the best thing that ever happened to my son. Daughter, not so much. But what if the things that we're going through right this second are the only way that we could learn certain lessons? What if the court battles with your exes are the only way that maybe you could learn what's really important, and you could learn self-love, and you could learn self-care, and you could learn some strategies that there's no way you could possibly have learned that unless you had that exact situation put in front of you? What if everything that happens to us is actually teaching us something? I believe it is. So why would we even think about a partner? Well, I used my relationship goal to become the person that I really wanted to be, because we only attract who we are and not who we want. So how do we attract the person that's going to love us and cherish us and trust us and respect us? By cherishing ourselves, by trusting ourselves, by respecting ourselves. I believe that our goals and dreams are unique to us. The husband that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with is totally and completely unique to me, because we're all 100% completely unique in every single way. None of us are exactly the same. So of course our partners and our future partners and the person that God has chosen for us, that he's getting us ready for, is completely different. They're all completely unique because they're perfect for us. Becoming the person that you want in order to attract the person that will love you and cherish you. It sounds like, okay, oh, that sounds good. Like I had heard that from my therapist, like right after my divorce. I'm like, that's a great idea. Okay, I got it. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to be that person. I'm going to attract him. It's going to be great, right? But it doesn't exactly work that way. Building those internal love and beliefs that it's possible, it comes from doing the work that gives you that sense of fulfillment and joy and peace. So when I first heard this notion of, okay, you want to attract someone, well, then you need to write it all out, which I think, well, that's very logical, because doesn't everybody say if you want to accomplish something, you write it? And actually, studies are proven. Any goal that you have, when you write it daily, it makes you 1.2 to 1.4 times more likely to accomplish it. So like, great. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to write it out. I love lists. I'm going to check them off one by one. I'm going to do it. Wrote it on a piece of paper. His characteristics, things that I liked about him, things that he would do for me, things that I would do for him, the things that we would do together, what our life would be like, his personality traits, maybe physical characteristics, anything and everything that I could think of. And I put it in a drawer. I maybe looked at it every once in a while. And I remember a couple years later, you know, couple years of online dating. I got on my knees one night. I pulled out this list. I'm praying to God, thank you for sending me my soulmate. And I just read this list and I said, there's no way a person like this exists. There's just no way. He doesn't exist. It's not possible. Nope. Crumbled that up, threw it across the room, cried myself to sleep. I was so angry. Why is it though that my heart is dreaming about a person like this, that we hike together and we can, do, I had so many things I want to do. I want to travel. I wanted someone who was a good example to my son and my daughter, someone who would actually like throw the football in the backyard, with Brandon and come to softball games with Leah and teach her how to bat. I mean, I don't even know how to bat. I didn't play sports. We did music in my family. I didn't even think that I could even play a sport. I thought you had to be one or the other. I had no clue. So I just didn't believe it. And so it hit me that the belief is not there. The belief that a person that was amazing, that was meant for me, was non-existent. And then I went to my best friend's wedding. So my best friend at the time was my business partner. And she used to drive 30 minutes every single day to go work out at this gym, Lifetime Fitness, it's 30 minutes from her, right around the street from me. So I would meet her there and we'd go do our exercising and have our, work meetings and then go back home. Everybody thought she was nuts. And I did too, like literally a half an hour. She's probably passed, 10 gyms on the way to this stupid gym, but she loved it. She knew everybody there. That was her mom time. That was her alone time. That was her exercising time, clear her brain time, and her socializing, like all in one place. That was her favorite place to be because we work from home. So, I mean, it's really important to get out and do something, but she specifically chose this place. And she also had certainty that she would meet her soulmate. She was also a single mom, also worked from home, also had 2 kids, divorced, all of that. And guess where she met her husband? Lifetime Fitness. Isn't that crazy? For years, she would go there every day, drive an hour a day to go work out at a gym, that gym. And that's where they met. So their wedding was really wonderful. It was beautiful. We rented out this whole place. It was in Holly Lake in Montana. Oh gosh, it was so gorgeous. And it was so wonderful. And it wasn't just about her getting married. I mean, it was, but everybody that was there were all happily married. Almost everybody in attendance also had long-term committed, wonderful relationships. And I was surrounded by all these people that just loved each other and loved their wives and loved their husbands. And I was like, wow, that just blows my mind. And his dad, the groom's dad, got up. He was the best man. And his toast was, he said, you think you love her now? Just wait 47 years and wait to see how much you love her. 47 years. Can you imagine? Couldn't imagine anybody saying that about me. I thought, I want that. I want that. So if God put this desire in my heart, that means it's meant to be for me. And I said, what does she have though that I don't have? What is it? Well, she had certainty. She didn't know she was going to meet her husband at Lifetime Fitness, but she had certainty that she was going to meet an amazing man. She knew it. Okay. I needed to get that. She had self-love. She had self-confidence. She was so self-confident. She never doubted that she would meet somebody. And I was like, I got to get those things. And it just hit me that I am not going to attract someone awesome unless I feel awesome about myself. And so I made a list. Why don't I? What is wrong? I'm doing okay. I'm paying my bills. My kids are good. I mean, they're healthy. I mean, we're not, they haven't burnt down the house. So, but what specifically why do I not feel like my best self? And I did make a list. I mean, I had all kinds of things, like things that I'm procrastinating. I feel like anything that you're embarrassed about, it needs to be done. I just been procrastinating like yard work. It had grown, the sprinklers broke and like the weeds were like, I don't know, 5 feet high. My kids thought it was great. It was like a jungle back there, but I was so embarrassed. I didn't have anybody. I just like wished that the curtains could be closed, so no one could even see that out there. I had been procrastinating on my health, my dental work. I'd spent so many years putting myself last. Sure, none of you can relate to that, right? You take care of their kids. They got to have their appointments, their doctors, the dentist. I didn't make any appointments for myself. I didn't take care of this body that God gave me. And so I made a list. I've been procrastinating my dentist, procrastinating my annual exam, procrastinating my doctors, my blood work, everything that I had been procrastinating on that I am embarrassed about is God telling me that I need to do something. And once I do one little thing, again, one thing, then you feel good about yourself. And I also decided that I was going to make a new list. I was going to make a new soulmate list. I call him my soulmate. You can call him whatever you want. I believe that our souls are meant to be together. And I believe that he was meant for me. I believe that we had so many parallels, and there's so many times he literally should have died and or been killed in his life. His life is the craziest. It's probably the next book I'm going to write. Oh my gosh. You wouldn't believe it. So I decided, well, the piece of paper thing wasn't working for me because I don't have it in front of me. It's I'll glance at it at night, maybe once in the morning. I don't know. It's too long. It's not. So I'm going to put it in my phone. So I put it in the notes of my phone. I started a new one. Okay. And, the soulmate list itself, I believe, can serve as your map. If you're following along and you really want to accomplish a relationship goal and you really want to put some of these strategies in place to see what work you need to do to get ready for him and completely let go of the timing. The timing is up to God. We don't have control over that. We only control ourselves and how we can improve and how we can show love and compassion to ourselves and others. So we can attract someone who is loving and compassionate and patient and kind and generous and every single thing that you want in a partner. Well, we have that on our soulmate list. My soulmate is, because he already is a person. He's already been chosen. I believe he's been chosen for you already. He is generous. He is kind. He will listen to my father's stories over and over without complaining. I forgot I'd written that down. I actually did write that down, which is hilarious. Yeah, you're talking to yourself. Your list of who you want to attract is your list. That's your roadmap. I believe, I kind of used to think about it, it's like, okay, so once I'm doing one thing that demonstrates compassion or demonstrates patience, I got like a little step closer. Because I don't know how long it's going to be, whatever. I don't know, throw it away. But how can I improve? I can do one thing that is patient. I can do one thing that's compassionate. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be, generosity is not money necessarily. You can donate your time. You can pick up your sister. You can wonder, how those days where you get little inclinations, little intuitions, and someone you haven't thought about in a long time. I think that's God talking to us. I think that every time that I've done that and I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. I got to go to this. I got to do this. I got this deadline. I'm like, man, thinking about my sister. And then like, I didn't call her. I was too busy. Got to go got this deadline, get this meeting, blah, blah, run. And guess what? The next day, I literally accidentally pocket dialed her. It's amazing how God works. I accidentally called her. I don't believe in accidents. And she didn't answer. I was like, oh, that's so funny. I've been thinking about Marilyn. I wonder how she's doing. I wonder if she's doing okay, blah, 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 blah. The next morning, she called and she was really struggling. And I just talked to her for an hour. And it's funny because if I would have maybe called her 2 days before, maybe I could have helped her before. We could have helped each other. We're both each other's therapists. But she was really struggling and I can't remember what it was even about. It's a couple years ago. I remember that happened. Those intuitions. And so when you get a feeling or some kind of a gut feeling or guidance, and you demonstrate those things that you really want in a partner, where you're creating those beliefs that I am compassionate, I am patient, I am kind, I am generous because of what I did. And then you build that belief that you do deserve kindness. You do deserve someone who loves you and cherishes your essence, cherishes who you are at your core. You do that by focusing on the list. That's how I did it. I read it and edited it every day. And guess what? Also, the reason why it's in your phone is so that you can edit it. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. We all learn. Once we ever get out of lockdown, once you can, start dating again, well, you don't have to even wait till you start dating. Every single person you've ever dated and every single person that's ever been in your life, they taught you something. What did they teach you? Start looking at all those dates, all of them as teachers. You learned a lot. Maybe you just learned what you don't want, which is super powerful, because once you identify what you don't want, then you know what you want. So 17 months is how long it took. God said, you need 17 months. I didn't know that, but now I do. I read and edited my soulmate every single day. I worked on my list of the things that I really wanted to improve in my health, my finances, my environment, my children, my family relationships. Just like I said, I literally wrote a list in 4 areas, and I made small quantifiable goals in each one of those areas. I just worked on them little by little. There's an entire chapter is based on the environment, because we rarely realize how our environment affects us. I love that you said making your bed. It's so powerful. I don't make my bed every single day. I don't know why, but when I do, it's just makes me feel so good. Like I walk in my room at the end of the day, I'm like, yes, love it. So I should do it every day. Anyway, I'm going to start adding that. But I worked on my list, and I worked on my relationships. I worked on my health. I worked on my finances, and I had a purpose. I mean, one of the things that I was working on was a big, huge amount of debt. Like, how can you have debt when you file bankruptcy? I mean, seriously, woman? So what I did is my uber, obviously, financially super responsible self. I was self-employed for the first time. I had never been self-employed before. I'd always been a W-2. So I didn't plan in advance and save and do the quarterly and figure out how much I was going to have to pay. So even though I wiped out all my credit cards, I had $30,000 in debt, in IRS debt. And I used to feel like a big piece of crap because of that. I used to feel like I wasn't worthy of a husband because I had debt, and because I had failed again, because I was irresponsible again. But you know what? I started looking at that and I said, you know what? It's not like I have some scheme. I'm not a criminal. I wasn't planning on racking up all the IRS debt I could and then moving to Mexico. I didn't have a plan. I just didn't plan. I wasn't responsible. You know what? I wasn't really making that much money, and I needed the money more than the government did. I'll pay them back. I'm not getting out of paying taxes. Nobody's getting out of paying taxes. So I can shift that thinking where I'm not less worthy of a husband just because I owe the government some money. They'll be fine. So I put an automatic plan in place, and I threw all the statements into a filing cabinet, and I just didn't look at them. So instead of, I'm a loser, I have debt, huge number, $30,000, gonna take forever, all of those things, it takes just the same amount of energy to focus on all of those things as it does is, it's gonna be zero. I'm paying it down. It's going down. It's gonna be zero. Can't wait for the party. I'm taking my kids to Disneyland when it's zero. I'm gonna celebrate when it's zero. We're going out to eat when it's zero. We're gonna get sushi, and we're gonna order every single thing. It's going to be $300, and I don't care because IRS is going to be zero. Same amount of energy, same amount of time to focus on the end goal, the zero, the zero, the zero, the zero, the zero. So anyway, I hadn't accomplished all my goals when I first got together with John, and we don't even have time for the rest of the story. One day I walked in the door, and he saw me differently. He was in front of me the entire time. He was my client. I knew him the entire time. I met him in 2009. Isn't that crazy? And one day I walked in the door and he looked at me like I was a different person. And that's because I was a different person. And he asked me out a couple of days later. For on our first date, he was like, so you don't think like the age difference is going to bother you? And I'm like, you mean the fact that you graduated from high school the year I was born? And he was so embarrassed. He had no idea. It was like, he was new to Facebook. I'm like, dude, you put that in your Facebook profile when you graduate from high school. I said, no, I don't think that age really matters. I think our souls are the same age. I think our souls are we're so much alike. It's so much fun. We took all 4 of our kids and we went to Maui and got married on the beach. And it was very special. And I believe that that is our calling. I believe that it is possible for everybody. And I believe that is God's intention to for all of us to have a partner who loves us and cherishes us. Doesn't mean perfection. Doesn't mean we never have arguments. I mean, we get into the stupidest arguments because we're people. We're still human. But having that partner, it allows you to keep working and becoming the best version of yourself. And well, I never would have written a book. I wouldn't be sitting here, that's for sure. I wouldn't have done anything that I think I've done the last couple of years because I can fulfill my potential because of him, because I have a cheerleader, because I have someone who has my back. And, when I got sick, I got vertigo one day and I just started vomiting in this yoga studio. And I was, oh my gosh. And they called the paramedics and then they took me to the emergency room. I mean, literally, one call, he was there by my side every second. I couldn't even, the whole world was spinning. I was so sick, whole day doing all the tests, whatever. Finally could get home. I was sick for 3 days. So it's not like he just left a meeting and stood by my side for the rest of the day, which he did. And he runs a really big company. Didn't care. He made the kids breakfast, took them to school, picked them up from school, took them back home, made dinner. I mean, he literally took over for 3 to 4 days straight while I was in bed. So that kind of love and that kind of relationship is possible. And I believe it is our destiny. And I think it's the way that we attract that is to do the internal work. So our last section is cultivating our relationship with God. I just listened to this podcast. We were interviewing an author named Jay Shetty. And he said, your morning ritual, your morning routine is like putting on your armor for the day. I was like, oh, I love that. Now my morning routine is so sacred. I would never skip it. And I love that. I feel like that's what faith is. Faith is like your spiritual armor. We're going to battle every single day of our lives. I think faith is like when nothing makes sense, it's a knowingness that we don't need to make sense of it. We're not supposed to make sense of every single thing that's happening right now in our lives. God has already made sense of all of it, and he knows what we don't know. I think faith is a knowing that when you feel alone, that feeling is not a truth. It's not a true statement. It's not a fact. It's just a feeling. And when you can say, I am alone, to I feel alone, again, changing the I am statements to just a feeling, it's not as harsh, right? I felt alone before, but you've never been alone. God's always there. He was sitting right beside me, even though I didn't believe in him. He was sitting right beside me, even though I was drinking and being stupid. He was sitting right beside me. He's like, yep, this is your first husband. You're going to have 2 beautiful kids. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't make sense of any of that. I used to go to this Christian church when I was alone. So I didn't, since I had my kids like 97% of the time, there's every once in a while he would drop in and he would take them. So I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I mean, seriously. I mean, maybe I'd go have some, go to happy hour, go dancing with the girls. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, my house is screaming with silence. I hated it. So on Sunday mornings, if they're on a random Sunday, if I was alone, there was this Christian church and I love the speakers and I love the messages. And I would sit there and I would just watch all these complete families with the dad and the mom and the kids all holding hands together, all praying together, all worshiping together. And I would sit behind them and I would weep. I wanted that so badly. You know what I learned though? I learned so many great things. I learned that prayer is us talking to God, and our intuition is God talking to us. And the only way to open that communication to hear the blessings and the guidance from God is through prayer. If we don't have faith and we don't have pray, then it's like God's telling us, giving us all these signs, all this guidance, and you're not picking up the phone. And when you have faith and you're praying, it goes right through. You don't even have to pick it up. You just answer immediately. You can hear the guidance when you're quiet and you have that calm and that faith. One more thing before I close. If you read Ephesians 6, I just wanted to talk about this one scripture because it's so good, that faith is actually only part of the armor, our spiritual armor, going to battle every day against negativity and against our chaos and our hurt and our negative social media. And we literally are going to battle. Ephesians 6, 10 through 18. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the darkness, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt with truth. There's armor piece number 1. Having on the breastplate of righteousness, piece number 2. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, armor number 3. An armor is not just one piece. It's an entire body. It's an entire thing that covers your entire body. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. He's saying this is all we need. This is our armor to go into battle, to learn the lessons, to take on anybody who's trying to be negative and trying to come at us with their BS. If we have faith, peace, truth, salvation, the word of God, and prayer, then we have everything we need to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Even if that's what we do to ourselves, right?
Yeah. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow.